Welcome back, Wolfpack. It's your boy Austin here with D-Lo, per usual, for the last episode of Season 1 of Keeping Up with the Pack. We're bringing some great things to you. We're going to have some footage from the first ever President's Colloquium that took place in April this year. We're also going to have an exclusive interview with the executive chair of this upcoming fall's Northwood Auto Show. And then we have a very special guest you're going to have to stay tuned in to see coming at the end of the episode that I can assure you is going to provide some very, very exciting news for the city of Midland. So stay tuned and let's get it underway.
Man, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. When I saw you come in with the cane, I was like, oh man, you make it look cool. You make it look cool. But no, man, I'm excited to see what you guys talk about.
Yeah, me too. That's why these are so much fun. Cause how are you, my friend? Good.
How about yourself? See everybody.
Andy, but the first time I was introduced to a colloquium was when I was a student, and the president hosted one in her home, and I didn't know what it was. But if I could take you all back to grade 12 when you studied Latin, remember Latin? You all studied, right? Loqui means to talk, and colloquy is a high-level discussion, and that's kind of where the word colloquium came from. It's an opportunity, particularly they use it in academic environments, to have discussions, and sometimes discussions about really important things, sometimes things that make students uncomfortable and make staff, faculty uncomfortable. In my view, there is too many times on university campuses today when we are not creating opportunities for people to talk about really important items and explore it and do it in a civil way. And through those discussions, sometimes you get uncomfortable. And I've said that if you're not uncomfortable at some point during your time on a university campus, that we've failed you. We've not prepared you for the reality of life. And so we see a lot of things being canceled or protesters, and that's not what we want Northwood to be. We want to have rich, deep conversations on both sides. So what are some examples of colloquia that I've done in the past? We've explored the legalization of cannabis. Is that a good thing or bad thing? We brought in medical experts and students and researchers about it. We've talked about really ugly, uncomfortable things like sexual violence on university campuses and got into that and tried to explore it. In today's society, at this moment, we could probably talk about trans athletes competing in our environment. What do you think about that? And so that's the type of thing that a colloquium is meant to be, particularly on a university campus. And the fact that we have Andy and his working team, including some people here who have put this together. We have our guests here, colleagues and students. I can't thank you enough. Mayor Donker, Maureen. I mean, every time we pick up the phone and ask for you to join us, you say yes. And it's that type of reaction that makes Midland, I think, one of the preeminent small cities to live in America. And Sharon, you'll hear a little.
Fit with empathy, to gather forward bold, an exceptional place where everyone thrives. That is what we aspire for here in Midland, and you're all part of that because Northwood is part of Midland, and we're so excited that you are. When we think about inclusion, we want people to feel accepted, we want them to feel a sense of belonging, we want them to feel welcome to our community, we want them to feel free to be who they are. And when we think about inclusion, you've got to have empathy to get there. Now it's easy, and I love what President McDonald said, and that is there should be some discomfort, honestly, with empathy. And the reason there should be discomfort is it's easy to empathize with someone like you. If someone is a mom with kids, I can empathize with that, what they might be going through. If someone is a runner and they pulled a hamstring, I can empathize with that. You know, if someone enjoys making bread, I can empathize with that. I can kind of understand. So the things that are comfortable to me that I know about, it's really easy. Or someone in leadership in an organization and is sharing their struggles, I can empathize with that. But it's harder when someone is unlike me. It's harder in that case to empathize. And to be able to really empathize, it starts with, what do you think? What do you think empathy starts with? Knowledge. What else? Respect. Those are great things. I would say listening is where it starts. So, and I think those other things are important, but listening, you've got to really listen to someone else. And to listen, you can't be thinking about what you're going to say next. Have you ever done that, like maybe with a friend or a colleague, or, you know, I'm married with my spouse, like they'll be saying something, but I'm just waiting to tell them what I want to.
Forgive me, I'm a little bit nervous, but before the event, Mr. Cripe wanted us to meet in his office, and he wanted to get a gist of like what we wanted to touch on and talk about. And I kind of threw like a lot of personal experience stuff that I've experienced on this campus and in life as a whole. And I just wanted to like kind of point out the things that we offer here as a student life, as administrators, and as like the campus as a whole. So a lot of times like in life, me personally, I feel like I didn't necessarily fit in. I felt like I wasn't really supposed to be around. And some of these tools that I've recently picked up, I've only got to pick up those tools because of the resources we have here. Resources that I had no idea about. You know, people like come from religious households, and when they come to school, they might not be able to go to church all the time because they're busy with school, they're busy with athletics. So that's why, you know, you have groups like Fellowship of Christian Athletes, you have groups like the Gap. And if you want to talk about mental health problems, or if you want to talk about just like things that you're trying to figure out as a whole, you have a mental health club. If you want to talk about, even if you want to talk to our lovely president, it's like his door is always open, you can always go talk to him. And people don't really know how much of a blessing that is as a whole. And because of these different organizations, because of like groups like the Diversity Inclusion Group, I've learned important lessons along the way into bringing me to where I am now. And honestly, I owe it all to people like you, owe it all to the resources and the groups that we have on this campus, and the fact that we're able to be so inclusive with one another, be so comfortable with one another, the fact that we're able to understand things from from other people's perspective, and the ability to empathize.
Welcome back, Wolfpack. Back in studio with a guest I've been wanting to get in for a while. Someone I met my freshman year back in 2019, and he's been having his hands in many things on campus. He's a student who's actually been a strong role model for me. And this year, he's actually the general chair at this year's auto show. Welcome him in, Briggs. Man, how are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for the nice intro. I appreciate that.
No, it's no problem.
Can you believe it? 2019. We're towards the end.
Yeah, it's starting to become very real. It's starting to become very real.
2019. We all went through COVID when we came in here. We went through a flood on campus. Oh my goodness.
Man, it's been a lot, but like to finally have you in, especially for like the last episode of the year, I mean, it means a lot. It means a lot.
I appreciate that, Dilo. Thank you both. Awesome, you too.
Of course, absolutely.
No, I'm doing great. I mean, this is a perfect day to do it. I look forward to talking more about this stuff, and it'll be really good. I'm excited.
So
Thanks.
I mean, as I was kind of getting to in the intro, I didn't want to spoil it too much, but you know, you have a strong role in this year's auto show. And I just feel like, you know, you should just expand on it. And also for the people who really don't know what the auto show is, could you kind of just give a little background into what it is?
Definitely, yeah. So we're in the 60th anniversary of the Northwood University International Auto Show. That is crazy to think about, the diamond anniversary, right?
That might be the title.
Yeah, seriously. So there's a lot we got in store this year. For those that don't know what it is, it's one of Northwood's 3 student-led events that we have on campus. So 100% student-led, which I argue is one of the best things about the university at Northwood. They give us the opportunity to take what we're learning in class and apply it to, real world experience. Excuse me. So a couple ways, and we'll talk more about it, but we're doing the logistics of it. We're planning the logistics behind it. We're planning the finances, the marketing, the day-to-day operations, all these different fun things in order to make the show really good.
Right.
So we're really excited. A couple big things that we're focusing on this year that I think are the most impactful. Second.
Hey, man. Sure. It's there for a reason.
Yes, of course. No, I did we had an open house today, so there was a lot of talking with different families that are, a lot of people that are super excited about the auto show too. One of the most big things that we're working on this year that I've actually talked to you both a little bit about off the air was marketing. We're focusing a lot on advertising. This is the 60th year. A lot of people don't know that this hidden gem in Northwood, this university, and this auto show that we have at the university has been going on for 60 freaking years.
Yeah, it's crazy to think
Holy
about.
moly.
That's
I'm not even 60 years old.
No, man. I mean, like I said, we're on campus.
It's
We didn't even know it was the 60th year. So I feel like you said, the marketing is going to be a strong push.
Huge. Yeah. We want people to be more aware of what's going on. We're working on using data to drive a lot of our different decision making and what we focus on doing our marketing in. And so some people just saw it open house actually.
Yeah,
So,
this is a beautiful studio.
it is. I love it.
Like I said, they don't really know like the beautiful scenery that we
No,
really
I
got
love
in this whole
this.
thing.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's a big thing is using our data to do it, trying to focus on which audiences we should be focusing on, and also kind of broadening those audiences as well. Working on bringing in more people that don't know about it as well. So there's a lot of different things we got going on, but we're really excited.
Well, I know that every year it's kind of a different show.
Yeah.
Whoever's the general care kind of gets to put their own twist on it. Because it's something you get selected for. You go through an interview process. You have to have a vision for what it's going to look like. What can our viewers expect out of the 2023 auto show? It's like kind of your vision at the helm of it.
Yeah,
that's really good. So to be transparent, I didn't come from an automotive background. Besides the fact that I live in Michigan, I didn't come from that. And so as over the past couple of years as I've been involved in auto show, I was the logistics chair the past 2 years, and I've been, just surrounded by the automotive industry more. We've focused a lot on like a big thing that I think is super pivotal in any industry, but specifically the automotive industry, is networking. And so our theme this year, so the general chair picks the theme every year, is connect. And a big reason for that is because a big reason from the automotive industry is the networking aspect of it. There's a lot that moves, there's a lot of moving parts that all come from, the connections that you have in industry. It's super important, obviously, the manufacturing, the building, the buying and the selling of the cars and stuff. But behind it all, I really believe that the foundation of it is, built, and it's from the network that you build within the industry. So this year, we're really focusing on getting our team captains, our team members to really focus on connecting with our audience, work on engaging with them a lot more than I guess we have in previous years, which is super cool. And so that's probably the biggest thing that I think we can all expect this year is we're trying to rebuild, and not necessarily rebuild, but morph some of the culture behind our organization and focus more on the customer experience and focus on connecting our students to not just the general public, but a lot of different industry professionals that'll come in and focus on increasing the network, to give a lot of students jobs. That's a huge thing. That's a big reason why people get involved is because there are more jobs that come out of this. We're connecting them with industry professionals through, their dealer contacts, their corporate contacts, OEMs, and just different vendors. So that's what I'd say we're working on the most, and would be super pivotal is the connection that you're going to make at the auto show.
I mean, that's great. And obviously we just went over what kind of your goal is with it, but you're at the highest position when it comes to the executive board in this.
Thanks for the reminder.
In this show, right? And I know that can be intimidating in a lot of ways, but you were selected for it because you're capable of it, and the people that you've worked with know that. But what, can someone who's maybe an incoming freshman and that's their ultimate goal that they want to have going into their senior year, some of the responsibilities that really go into it. Obviously, creating the vision, to being the face of the show, to go out and do public media and stuff like that for it. But kind of the behind the scenes things, like how are you kind of involved in directing that side of it?
That's a super good question. To kind of lay a foundation for it, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I was logistics chair the past 2 years. So there was definitely a process to getting this position. It wasn't, I actually started out as a team member on Team Cadillac, my freshman year. COVID happened. Our year got moved virtually. I actually applied for logistics chair that year, and I didn't get it. So, but I was like, I'm not gonna be discouraged. So I'm gonna try again. So after the COVID year there was like a lull with that. It got moved to a virtual show. We went around to dealerships and did a virtual show. I then applied for logistics chair again, and I got it. So I had it my junior year, and then I just got done the senior year with the logistics chair as well. And then I, from that experience, I have kind of understood and apprehended sort of a general idea for every different department leading up to it. And that's very important because as general chair, you're expected to pretty much answer every question that's ever asked, about the show ultimately. You're supposed to answer for questions in marketing, logistics, different event planning, sometimes legality, mostly legality actually, which is a big thing, with contracts, stuff like that. I think I said, and marketing is a big thing. For like what I'm most responsible for though right now, which I think is a big thing, and this is pretty common, I think, at most different I would say CEOs or owners of businesses, and we kind of operate more as a small business. So we all wear like different hats ultimately. The big thing is decision making. There's a lot of different things that we have to focus on, and my team can't really, move forward a lot and work on a lot of different things unless certain decisions are made. So I provide a lot of the vision for where we're going this year. A lot of decision making and working on, the creation of well, maybe not necessarily the creation of new ideas, but the formulation of them. And a lot of our team, works on the implementation of them and the execution of them. So those what I say are like the biggest thing. I'm learning how to delegate. I think that's one of the best things. It's definitely hard to have a good idea and be like, okay, have somebody else work on it. Now we have a great team. And they're not here today, but we have a great team, 19 executive board members to help, carry out not just my plan, but our plans collectively. So there's a lot that goes in it. But to answer that, I would say decision making, creating vision, and just in general, overall management of them, to help them achieve not just their goals, or not just my goals, but their goals as well.
So, absolutely.
And I mean, as we kind of said earlier, I kind of wanted more, like I said, this is the 60th auto show. And like I said, you're somebody who I know is very impactful. I feel like you're very charismatic, and I'm expecting a lot out of this show. I'm gonna come back. I'm graduating.
I'd like to hear it.
I'm coming back definitely for this show. And,
baby.
and I just want to ask. Of course, you guys are still building it. It's still some ways out, but is there gonna be some special, some special things that you can expect from a 60th auto show on Northwood's campus, especially with cards and maybe a different layout, anything like that?
Some really big pivotal things. So last year we had the dream car selection. Ethan Shad did a great job last year, the 59th show, and he brought on a couple exotic cars through a couple contacts the university has. Well, without sharing too much, because we're still working on it and we want it to be a big reveal, we're working on expanding our exotic car collection. There's a couple other contacts that we have through some of the board members that have other car collections similar to the ones we had last year. So we're looking to get back the same, maybe not the same cars, but the same person's contacts, his car collection, and also some more as well. Because again, it's the 60th anniversary.
It's a big one.
Yeah,
it makes splash.
Another big thing that the university is working on primarily, they're going to be showing the new Maury car. There's I don't know if you guys have done a segment on the Maury car collection, but basically, in short, the Maury family donated a bunch of cars to go up for auction. Ultimately, that were auctioned down in Florida, and all those proceeds went to Northwood. Ultimately, I don't know which department, but regardless, they went to Northwood. Now they kept one car though. Northwood did to showcase on campus, so they're going to be building a certain section. I'm not 100% sure where yet on campus, but it's going to be ready for the 60th anniversary. So we're super excited. That'll be a good thing. Another thing. This was actually just this week that developed in the aftermarket division. Miranda Prier, she has been, she's the aftermarket chair over there, along with Ethan Moots, who's the aftermarket vice chair. they are working on building this 60s division. So for the 60th anniversary, we're getting cars from the 60s,
It does sound
from 1960s. So we're working on building up some of the connects there. Right now, I think we have 3. We're still working on a couple others.
Wow.
The names escape me because I don't think we've confirmed it, but
Yeah.
that's going to be like a cool
The
segment.
60s.
It's like from the 60s.
Yeah.
So that'll be something super sweet, especially as we try to focus on, it's an anniversary. So we are hoping to get more of our alumni back too, not just Auto Show alumni, but like Northwood alumni in general.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that they can also help us with that. But those are a couple, really key segments that I think are going to be super monumental there too.
That'll be so cool. I can definitely
It will be.
imagine like walking into this section with all these vintage 60 cars. Almost like walking into a different section at Epcot at Disney World. Oh, it's a different world.
That's
It's
true.
crazy.
That's so true, Austin.
But I know you.
I
Yeah.
just kind of just want to just ask, I mean, you're walking the stage, May, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we're all walking the stage in May, and
crap,
well,
yeah.
I know Austin, December. But after getting to that walk though, I just want to ask, what are your plans, post graduation? And I guess as for the people who are listening who aren't a Northwood student or who are a Northwood student and maybe
Yeah.
in that freshman or sophomore year, what is like one of the big things that you can take away from Northwood just as this something that's going to just actually just be a reminder that a skill that you got from Northwood, I guess.
That's really good. To talk about what I'm doing when I graduate. So when I graduate my undergrad, I'll actually start my master's of science and finance right away. It's a 2-year online program through the DeVos program. I'll start that in the summer, and I'm going to continue planning for the auto show. Other than that, I won't have an actual internship or job during the summer. I'm going to focus on auto show, get that done. After auto show, that's probably been the hardest thing to decide. It's still farther away,
Yeah.
but one of the big things about auto show is you have so many job opportunities, and the higher not to sound cocky or anything, but the higher you move up the totem pole, the more opportunities you are, the higher demand is. So I've got many opportunities that I'm like, okay, like we'll reconvene, after the auto show, and we'll see what's really out there and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason to be on the executive
That's
board
good.
too, because you have that experience to show for it, but also the connections, the network that Northwood builds up.
I can imagine especially if you wait to have those conversations as well, like they're going to see the show. It's just going to raise their stock so much more.
Exactly. You bring up, super good point. Very important. And I would say the biggest lesson I've learned, this is a good question, and to be completely vulnerable is that, and you probably heard this and it sounds cliche, but it's I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, learn from your mistakes. That's huge and stuff. I've been on the board for 3 years. I mean, I'm not perfect. Nobody is, but like I've made so many mistakes. And in order to get better, I've learned from them, whether it's been how I approach mistakes, how I approach different problems, stuff like that. I've learned to become more, I've learned how to not be super reactionary.
Yeah.
And how to focus on necessarily the root of the problem sometimes right away. There's times when you do have to be reactionary.
Yeah.
That tends to be when it's life or death scenario. Have we had any life or death, mistakes in the auto show? No, we haven't. I'm kidding. No, exactly. But focusing on how to approach different mistakes and how to manage people. We're all younger. We haven't done this thing before. This is all super big and super huge and stuff. So I'd say maybe not even just learning from your mistakes, but how to approach how to just I've learned how to generally approach mistakes and how to generally approach people that have made other mistakes too. I think that's super pivotal, and you learn how to work with people just in general. We work with volunteers. Everybody's got other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And that's so important to know how to manage people and how to just work with them or relate with them on, a different level. So that's a good question. Another good question. But yeah, that's what I'll take with me after Northwood. And my degree. That'll help, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, the piece of paper is nice. It
Yeah,
definitely helps.
No, well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with a very special friend of ours, Cole Briggs.
Thank you, D-Lo.
I hope you guys definitely come up for this 60th auto show coming. When is the auto?
So yeah, first weekend of October.
First week.
October 6th through the 8th.
All right.
Excited.
October 6th to the 8th. So make sure you guys get up here and make sure you guys stay tuned and keep watching this episode. We got a very special guest coming up. You don't want to miss it. So stay here.
All right. All right, Wolfpack. Time for that special guest I mentioned earlier.
someone who I really feel like would be a great way to wrap up the year. I met her at the President Colloquium. She doesn't need much introduction. The mayor of Midland, Maureen Donker. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so glad to be here with both of you today. I was really looking forward to this. I was actually a little bit nervous.
Oh my God.
So.
I mean, I don't know if you could tell from the intro. I actually still got some butterflies right now.
Yeah, we've been nervous about it for a while, talking about it for a few weeks since we met you at the colloquium. So we're looking forward to this. This should be fun.
Okay, I think it will be. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with the both of you.
Yeah, and with you being the mayor of Midland, I feel like you were a great way to reach out to all audience. One, we're being the kids going to Northwood University in your city, and then even the alumni who even sometimes stay in the city, or even the citizens who even watch our show. So just having you on, I think, is a great way to reach all. First question I want to ask you is, what is your relationship with Northwood University?
Well, it actually goes back quite a while ago. I had the opportunity to work for Northwood. So I worked for Northwood for about 11 years. I was the director of human resources. I helped start the HR department there. And so, when you live in Midland, because I grew up here, you know about Northwood, but I really never connected with it before until I had the opportunity, to become really a part of it. And that was, really a great time in my life. I was a lot younger then, let me just say that. And so you really worked with a lot of interesting people, both staff and faculty, and you had that opportunity to be around students also, which I think is, it's always a very different perspective, which is a good perspective.
Of course. And I'm just wondering, how did you go from, wow, you started the HR department at Northwood? That is great. I did not know that. It is my first time hearing that. But to know that you went from starting the HR department at Northwood University to being the mayor, I mean, that is a very big transition. That is a very, how did that just happen?
So that wasn't a single transition.
Right.
I actually worked at lots of different places in Midland. My husband teases me and he calls it job du jour at our house. Like, Maureen, what all are you going to do? And I think that for me, what I realized in my career was that things presented themselves for a reason. And I just kind of looked at that and said, well, what a great opportunity that would be. And so I said yes. So prior to working at Northwood, I worked for a local bank, and I was in their HR department there. And I did a lot of volunteering across the community. And then I became the director of an organization called the Voluntary Action Center. And the person who was the board president at that time actually was the head of finance at Northwood. And when they were looking for someone to help with the HR department, he called me. I actually thought he was looking for a volunteer. And he said, no, Maureen. I went, whoa, okay, well, let me think about it. And I thought, I do have, I had an opportunity to work in that area at the bank. I think this is a good time for me to grow my career. And so I went to Northwood, and I was there until I had children. And then it was time for me to be at home for a while with my kiddos. So it was great.
That's awesome. I know for a lot of people, the idea of running and being in public office can be something that's pretty intimidating. And some people think of it as something that, you have to commit every moment of your life to. And if you're going to be in politics, you need to do that from the very beginning. But was that always something that was kind of an end goal for you? Or is that just something that presented itself like you did with other opportunities, then you decided to capitalize on?
Yeah, really, it presented itself. My husband was an elected official, and that was his career. And so when I went back to work after Northwood, I worked in benefits at the hospital. And then we have a son. One of our children is John, and he has autism. And the opportunity, came up where I could work part-time and be home with him and do something to help him have a better life in his future. And so I decided that, I would go back to work part-time. And so I run a nonprofit also called the Reese Endeavor, which does housing for folks with disabilities here in Midland. And I also volunteered a lot. I also facilitated the community advisory panels for Dow Corning, and Cabot Corporation. So that presented me with a great opportunity to understand business and how important business is in a community. To have a rich community, if you have strong business, that's really important. But I was also serving the poorest of the poor. And I thought, wow, as a nonprofit director, if we have strong business, I'll be able to run a nonprofit and be successful in that, where I can help folks. So that's really what kind of made me to decide to run for city council. And so we have what's called a council manager form of government. So cities typically have one of two kinds of government. They either have a strong manager, strong mayor form of government, or a council manager form of government. So if you think of a strong mayor form of government, think of Detroit, New York, Chicago. So they elect the mayor runs the city. In a council manager form of government, it's more of a partnership. We hire a professional to run the city, and then we come in and we do, we're responsible for the rules and for help set the direction for the community. So for me, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Definitely sounds amazing.
And do you feel like, I'm just wondering, like with the help of the nonprofit, the fact that you kind of had that footing in that direction already really helped you kind of get the win to kind of be in this position of being the mayor?
I think that every position that I've held has really helped me grow in a different way. So when I was at Northwood, one of the things I also did was I helped facilitate a presentation skills program, which was really not my thing, because I am terrified of being in front of people, looking out at people. And I thought, oh no, I can't really do that. But that really helped me, begin to be more comfortable in that role, and working for Dow in teaching their leadership, helping facilitate their leadership programs. I got great training in that area on leadership and, how to do planning. And so I think that it was just this great opportunity to be open. And I think sometimes, if things present themselves for a reason, and saying yes can take you down a path that you could never plan.
Right. And that's actually one of the big things I loved about Northwood is the presentation is the biggest thing that they probably taught me. That's actually one of the big things that a lot of students say is like they really have big nerves coming into Northwood, but you have so many classes where you have to present, and literally a presentation class, really, especially English, you have to present countless times. So to know that you were actually working at Northwood and they even broke that out of you is kind of a big thing to think about. So yeah, that's nice. Nice. And kind of the more going to the next thing is, I know when you were at the President's Collegium, the big thing that really made me want to bring you on the show is you said something that I didn't expect anyone, especially an elected official of Midland, to say. But you said, I want the students to stay here. I want the students to actually be in Midland. And of course, with me being at Northwood for the last 4 years, I can definitely say I can't think of how many students definitely came to, who didn't already stay in Midland, but who came to Midland and then after they graduated stayed. It's definitely probably more on like two hands. But to know that you actually wanted the students to stay and be here, that was something great to hear. So I just wanted to say, what do you think the things that students could actually think about in Midland in good ways about why they should actually be here after graduation, and where the city is going in the future about why they should probably stay here?
Well, I think, when we talk at the city about what are some of the biggest issues that we face, certainly attraction of talent is one of those things. And I think, we have this wonderful pool of students right here at Northwood who are here, who know what they're looking for and what they want. I think you can help us do this even better. Right. And I think, I had a good experience in college. I loved where, I was going. I really enjoyed that. But I knew it was time for me to go. But with that said, I think if I had an opportunity to stay there, I would have stayed there. And I think, wow, why aren't maybe some of the students from Northwood, want to be here? And so why don't I think we need to do this. I think we need to invite you to stay. Come and be a part of our community. And for us right now, what kind of community is going to help us? What do we need to do to help attract and retain talent? I think you guys can help us with that.
Yeah, and I know Northwood's doing a lot of things to try to get themselves ingrained in the community as well. I know this upcoming summer on June 8th, they're hosting the Tuned by the Tridge. Northwood's representing that, and then hosting and sponsoring the July 4th celebration this summer as well. And I know as someone who has spent multiple of my summers at Northwood in Midland, I didn't leave, and I was able to really become a part of the community while classes were out and able to see that side of it. I think that's a really convincing factor. I think being able to see this city at its full strength in the great season, when everyone's outside, everyone's being great with each other, all the great events that Midland puts on in the summer, I think being able to get students to see that side of Midland would be a huge tool in that sense, because there's so many great things that go on here during the summer. There's always something you can do. So I think that could be a huge step as well, just making sure that students stay for the summer, more internships in the city that allow them to stay, more housing options. Definitely would be great opportunities for sure.
We're a much more diverse community than we were even a couple of years ago. I mean, we have a lot of different employers here now. Where originally, Midland was founded by Herbert Dow, and we were Dow Chemical and Dow Corning, and now we have multiple companies which have all different kind of opportunities available.
Yeah.
Not just scientific, but there's a lot of business opportunities there with our local businesses. So I think that I think we've really been working very hard to be the kind of place that people want to live and to understand what that is. And I think you can't do one thing to make that happen. You have to do lots of different things. We want to be a welcoming community. We want to have great social offerings. We also want to be a beautiful place, because there's if we were going to try and compete with Denver, Colorado, that's kind of that's hard to compete with that. So what is there that we can do to make Midland beautiful? So we do lots of things like that. So if you were here, spending time here during the summers, you'd see that, we work very hard to make the downtown attractive. We, do a lot of flowers. In May, we'll be planting flowers, and the community all comes together to do that on Eastman Avenue.
You guys close this road right here.
We do.
And like Austin said, he's
the
the type of people who he gets to enjoy that. He's up here for the summer, but by the time we get up here, it's like, oh my God, they had the whole road closed up here downtown. It's just crazy. So I definitely love this fact that you guys do that.
Yeah, I think that makes it certainly it's a gathering space, and we all want to go to a place where we can connect with one another. And I think that's been wonderful with this whole commons area, is that and not only that, there's activities down here. So during the summer, you can come out and do a yoga class on the lunch hour. You can come and listen to music at night. We're going to have the I forget what it's called. Hold on.
What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about our portable bar is what I'm
Oh, the 70. No.
Hold on.
No.
We have, it was down there right on the corner of Larkin.
The beer garden.
The beer garden, yes.
I worked there all summer last summer. I should have known that.
Yeah,
the Larkin Beer Garden coming back to its original spot, closer to downtown, opposed to being down by the baseball stadium.
Yes.
That'll be
and
huge.
So there it is. Thank you for that.
Of course.
We'll have our beer garden down there, which will be great. But now that we have the commons area, you can get a drink. You can go out on the sidewalk. You can walk around.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. Yeah. And then there's music. I think it's a great opportunity for people to come together, meet other people, and have a good time.
Yeah, definitely. And this is definitely a little off the cuff question, just because we're talking about the city of Midland, and it really is beautiful. And I wanted to ask you a question, like, if you were somebody, especially like me, I'm about to graduate, but I'm saving to buy a house. Is Midland has beautiful houses, like. And I know how you said you actually have a nonprofit where you actually build houses and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, do you know, is Midland gonna keep coming with these great, beautiful houses for people who are gonna be future homeowners like me? And as you know, I'm gonna be working for all these. So they might send me back up here, and I might have to look in the market of Midland for a house. So I'm just wondering, like, are you guys gonna keep building these beautiful houses in Midland?
Well, we actually have a bit of a housing shortage now, so we're really looking at different ways we can provide different types of housing, because not everybody wants a house, but a lot of people want apartments and not just apartments, but maybe a duplex or something a little bit different. So I think we're thinking about all the different kinds of housing that we need to have. So we have a whole project right now, which is called Housing Forward. And it is about how do we bring developers in, because if you take a look at the economy now, it's really expensive to build. But if I'm going to talk about Midland's beautiful homes, yes, we do. We have some incredible mid-century modern architecture.
Yes.
And which is really a draw for so many people to come to Midland. And it really says a lot about our community, because it's something that sets us apart from lots of other places, this incredible architecture. So I'm kind of a traditional person in my own style, But I can tell you that we had this whole group of architects come up from the Ann Arbor area, and they were talking about how amazing Midland was, and I thought, boy, Maureen, shame on you. You were learning about your own community from people outside of your community. That is something. But I kind of felt like I got religion, and so then I started like driving around, looking at all this mid-century modern building, and I'm going, oh yeah, it's so amazing. It's very different. It blends into the landscape. It's peaceful. It's really very nice. And so I would say that yes, Midland will continue to build. That's, because we want to attract people and we want them to have a place that they're going to love.
Of course.
And I also love the involvement that you give the community in those kinds of decisions. I know I live off campus, and I've received things talking about, new projects that you guys are looking at launching and how there's going to be city council meetings on it, inviting, members of the community to come out and put their input into those things. So it's definitely a community that, wants the input of everyone. And I've seen some of the great changes. I know the beer garden downtown being one of them.
I'm glad you could remember that.
Yeah, right. Is there anything that you guys are hopeful over the next, few years that you're able to implement here? Any things you're looking at down the road that you're thinking this would be something that could propel us into, maybe the next decade to really take over and create a younger crowd in Midland?
Okay, sure. I think there's lots of things that we're doing. So we're in we're in our master planning process right now, and the master plan sets the stage for the next 30 years. What is it that you want to be? So when I know that we've been out at Northwood and we met with some of the students there to get input from them. I mean, we've actually met with elementary students, but we've also been in local bars, meeting with them. We've done a pizza and planning, kit, so people could take it with them and then come back and bring, ideas. So we have been working really hard to hear what people really want to see. And so we hopefully will be implementing some of that. We'll come out with the master plan later this year and then really begin to work on implementation beginning next year. With that said, right now we're going to be having conversations about Ashman and Rod. So when I was growing up here, at that point in time, they were two-way streets.
Right.
They weren't one-way streets. And we're looking at, should we turn those back into two-way streets?
Oh my goodness, please.
So that's not everybody.
Great.
Not everybody feels the same way, but when we changed those, that was because Dow's headquarters was down here at the 47 building, and all of the homes that were being built were actually on the other side of town. So you needed to get people downtown, down to this part of town, so they could go to work, and then take them out of this area when they were going back home. So the one-way streets made a lot of sense.
Right.
Well, now some, one-way streets aren't necessarily, as some people think, the most safe street, because people get confused. They don't realize that they're one way. So there's things with that. And so we're having the conversation about, should we change those back to two-way? So we'll see what happens with that. We're also looking at a couple of things downtown. So we have been working very hard on creating this great gathering space down here. So down on Poseyville Road, there was on the 4D, which was actually a cement plant. They made bricks. I guess that's the best way to describe it. They made lots of different kind of, cement blocks, things like that. And that had completely gone, and we're like, what can we do with that area?
Yeah.
Well, Dow next door did a wonderful remediation of some wetland area. So we are going to be creating what's called the Poseyville Riverfront Park, and which is going to be very cool. It's going to be this really awesome wetland area, and we're going to be building a pedestrian path which will go over the river that will take you there. That will it'll be green. It'll kind of be the opposite of what the Red Bridge down here, but it will look somewhat like have the design of the Tridge. So people can go down, have another gathering space, have a place where they can go and relax and enjoy. So you will see that starting up very soon, and hopefully be done by this time next year, which is really very exciting. And we're looking at developing the riverfront right down here by the Tridge. What can we do to make that, something more usable? People want to come because you can easily access that from Northwood.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can get on the path, you can walk here, you can get a scooter.
I've definitely walked it.
Yeah. And, in Northwood, which I love that you do this, because really you're our university and we're your city.
Yeah.
And we love it that, President McDonald, they have started this wonderful thing where when freshmen are coming in, he brings them downtown and he says, this is your city, go and explore it. I think that is amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it's so
amazing.
cool. I know I speak for a lot of us, Mayor Donker. I'm excited off of what you're presenting us. I know D'Lo and myself are both very grateful for you taking your very valuable time to come in and talk to us and talk to our audience here. So want to give you a big thank you for that. Thank you for your time. It was great being able to talk to you. And members of the pack, stay tuned. We have something coming up for you here just in a moment. But thank you for listening, and I really hope you're all as excited about the future here in Midland as we are.
All right, Wolfpack. I hope you guys enjoyed the final interview of season 1. It was just great. The fact that the mayor was able to take time out of her day and come into the Idea Center downtown in Midland, in Northwood's property, and have a conversation with us. I just really hope you guys enjoyed that and really just enjoyed the whole Keeping Up with the Pack experience. To think that an idea I came up with over the summer has came this far, and I was able to have my best friend on campus really working the show with me. It's just really something that I would just dream of, but never think that would come to fruition. And I'm just grateful and happy for everyone who helped me get to this position. And that's really the big thing I want to say. After doing these 4 years at Northwood and now having this show and a platform, and with this being my last episode, at least in this format of being a student, I at least just wanted to say before I left that you can go far by yourself, but you go way farther with a team. And it's not saying a lot, but throughout my life, and especially after getting to Northwood, I definitely just thought, really, I thought all I had was my mom. I mean, my mom and God, especially God, but I really just thought it's just my mom and that's it. But especially after coming to Northwood and being here for 4 years, now about to graduate in May and about to start working at Aldi as a district manager in June, I had a team, a really, really, really big team. And I feel like I maybe could have been successful on my own, but I would have never been this man that I'm about to be walking the stage this Saturday without this team around me. It's from President McDonald, Justin Marshall, Kate, Austin right across. You don't even know, but it's a person named Dan Goodell in this room. He does all the editing. He helps me out with it and really make sure it looks good. And it's far beyond that, Professor Lee Part. It's just so many people at Northwood who helped make me the man that I am today, that some people know as D-Lo and some people know as DeLorean. But throughout whichever name you know me as, I'm the same person. And it's because I had this great village around me. So that was it for me. Thank you guys so much for giving me this platform, and I'm signing out, guys.
Love you, brother.
Man.